Welcome back to the all-new looking Racing World. We've just decided that we're going to give this one more shot this year. Racing World is going to be controversial. It's going to seek opinion. It's going to give opinion. But what's more, we're going to keep the show going for one more year and see how we go. Total fresh look, total different attitude towards things, but the focus still very strongly on IndyCar, but also other Kiwis competing overseas. And of course, this last weekend we had Kiwis everywhere: Formula E, NASCAR, Supercar at home, all the supporting events at home, USFPro 2000 in New Orleans, and of course IndyCar at Long Beach. So there was just a massive array of New Zealanders competing all over the place. And that says one thing right now, and I'm going to make a big statement already to kick the show off. The one thing is there is a lot of publicity currently about motorsport, courtesy of Liam Lawson, really, with his arrival to Formula One. Good or bad, let's just leave all that to one side for a minute. But the amount of media exposure that has become of motorsport in recent weeks because of Liam Lawson is phenomenal. So now we have to take advantage of that as a sport, as a sport, as a nation, as a fan. Now is the time to take advantage of that. And it filters all the way down to the young kids coming out of karting these days looking to go offshore. So I say straight off, now is the time to make this move. Yes, economic times are tough. Boy, are they ever. But the bottom line fact is the sport has so much interest right now. We need to capitalize on it. That's just my view. And as I said, from now on in Racing World, you'll get my view. Whether you like my view or not, entirely up to you. But that's view number one. So looking at the weekend first, let's start with the USFPro 2000 series with Sebastian Manson and Jacob Douglas competing in it. They're both rookies in this championship. Jacob has run in USF 2000, not the pro version, which is a slightly bigger car, more horsepower, and Sebastian making his debut this season. NOLA was the place, or the New Orleans racetrack. Very interesting track, very flat. Not a lot of visual aid around it because of its flat nature. 3 races over the weekend in their sort of effectively second round of their championship. And not a bad weekend for Jacob, 3 fourths, so pretty good. That keeps him in the championship chase and brings him up the points ladder. And Seb getting an introduction to racing in this class. They race very hard, very, very hard, very tough, no forgiving, because you got to remember that all these young kids are out there with a point to prove. So at the end of the day, Jacob's sitting pretty good in the championship. Seb's got plenty of races left to come back as well, and of course he'll make his debut on an oval at Indianapolis Raceway Park in May, so that's going to be another challenge for him there. Jacob's raced there once before, but nothing like going back to a small bull ring oval, and it tests the best of them, that's for sure. So we look forward to seeing that. But before then, of course, they're on the Indianapolis road course during the build-up to the month of May and the Indy Grand Prix weekend, which of course is the scene setter to the 500s. And then way over on the other side of the country, on the west coast, of course, that was the NTT INDYCAR series returning back to Long Beach, the 50th installment of the Long Beach Grand Prix in all its various forms, from F1 to kart, to IndyCar as it is now. So fantastic event. And the biggest thing, the takeaway factor, which we'll talk more about, and you'll hear more from Joseph Newgarden about it shortly as well, was the size of the crowd from Friday, Saturday, Sunday. New crowd. Is this part of the transformation into Fox Sport in the US? I really don't know. I don't think it is. I think it's probably a good piece of marketing. The 50th anniversary was there, so people came along that. It's still spring in Southern California, so the days were overcast, slightly cool, typical marine layer. So they weren't, sensational days. They were still nice, but they're getting crowd. So if that's working in the US, we need to transform that down into New Zealand. And, we saw good crowds at Supercar over the weekend, but we need to continue that momentum across all our classes. But anyway, got down to business on the first day, on the Friday. A good practice session, again split into a couple of groups at the end to allow for clear track running. But one of the people that was returning to some good form, bit overdue after a rough last season, was Marcus Ericsson.
And now we just have a really good setup in general to work with, and the team does a really good job preparing the cars and giving us drivers, cars that we feel confidence in to drive, because that's all. Street course racing is so much about that confidence, right? It's being close to those walls and having the confidence to push to the limit. So, Andretti does a really good job with that. So that makes it a pleasure to drive.
Good to see Ericsson come back to form. Got to remember he won the Indy 500 a couple of years ago, had a disastrous 2024 campaign across the whole season, pretty much. Very rough 500 period. Smacked up a couple of cars as well, but good to see there. And the big thing there, of course, is the resurgence of Andretti Global now under Dan Torres, who you'll also hear from a little later on. But yeah, return to form for Ericsson, so we say. But of course, it's only Friday, so plenty to go. Now, as I mentioned, the crowds and the vibe at Long Beach was something that we haven't seen in quite some time, particularly at Long Beach. And it was a good sign for the value of IndyCar right now and the fan enthusiasm. And Joseph Newgarden spoke about that at the press conference.
I mean, it looked like race day today. It was super cool. I think that's the great thing about motorsports right now, though. There's an excitement, there's a cool factor to it. I mean, if you just want to talk about trends, I think motorsport is a trend right now, especially with young people, and it's really fun to see that. You're just seeing this resurgence. I've been talking about this in a couple different interviews, but it's I don't want to say it's bizarre, but it has been unique to see over the last 2 years the amount of kids that I see at the racetrack that are bringing their parents. It's not the other way around. I meet parents that are my age and they're going, I know nothing about this, but my 6-year-old loves it and loves you or loves IndyCar. And I'm like, it used to be the other way around. I mean, it was, hey, whatever. I used to love IndyCar back in the 80s and now I'm here and I'm trying to, bring my kids, but it's the other way. The kids are bringing the parents. It's very, very cool to be a part of. I think we can continue that and grow it, and we're in a really good position to do it. So it's just a fun time to be a part of motorsports.
Well, as Newgarden said, it's a good time to be involved in motorsport, and I can only say exactly that thing. And to see the size of those crowds, having been to Long Beach a few times, phenomenal venue, very Southern Californian in terms of how the food carts are and everything. Some of the best Mexican I've ever had was at the Long Beach Grand Prix. So, there's plenty for the fan there, and such a mixture of racing over the weekend with the INSMA WeatherTech Sports Car Series there, Drift Series there, historic cars, and of course the NTT INDYCAR Series. So, yeah, very positive vibes coming out of that. That was day one. Day two, of course, qualifying. Big disappointment for Scott Dixon that day, clipping the wall. I had a look at the video of that, and it's quite interesting the fact that the wall juts out just slightly there because it's an escape area for the service vehicles and tow trucks and rescue vehicles for during the race. And there's just a slight lip on that, and he managed to clip that. It's been done before, but it certainly upset Dixon's practice 3, and I think it probably had a bit of an effect on qualifying as well, which put him a bit further in the pack. But of course, a previous winner at Long Beach was Kyle Kirkwood, and he took out top spot.
Track was green, a little bit warm, sun was out, and then this morning it's just been super cool, overcast, marine fog, and completely flip-flop from yesterday, and it'll probably flip-flop again tomorrow. So yeah, and we probably won't learn anything in the morning if I'm being honest. So it's going to be guessing and couldn't ask for a better team to guess with.
Completing that front row work for the Andretti Global organisation, of course, was Colton Hurt, a local, effectively it's his local Grand Prix coming from Santa Clarita, which is probably about an hour or so further north from where Long Beach is. He had his own problems during qualifying as well and practice, and he mentioned how difficult it is to avoid the walls around Long Beach.
At least for me and my feeling, the weight of the hybrid has made the street courses a little bit more difficult, especially under braking. So maybe that's some of it, but I think it's pretty typical to see guys, a few guys crash in qualifying here. It's just, I crashed also in round 1. I was just able to make it across the line, but completely destroyed the toe link in the left rear coming out of 11. But there's just like, the TV doesn't really catch all of those, but a lot of people have kind of moments and incidents like that. But I think it's just the nature of this track and street course racing in general with IndyCar. It's so competitive, you have to get everything out of it.
Well, then, of course, just like anything else in sport these days, we're seeing it now with Lando and Piastri in Formula One, and we've seen it time and time again, inter-team rivalry. So the big question, of course, was because it was an Andretti Global lockout of the front row, was there going to be any team orders?
I think that's up to the team. As a driver, you want the strategy that's going to win you the race. So, but yeah, I think they'll look at all the options. I don't really know what the race is going to look like at the moment. That's kind of what we'll need to discuss tonight. But, I think they usually give us each a fair shot at trying to win. So it's usually what tends to happen.
Onwards to the race, and Christian Lundgaard ended up taking out the third step on the podium. Now, he had a really big hit during qualifying, which forced him out of the fast six. And it was a substantial hit, and it resulted in the fact that they ended up using a spare tub for the weekend, so it shows you how much damage was done. But he's showing form that we really never saw out of him when he was with the Rahal organisation. Now, is this something to do with how Rahal's managed him, how the car was put together at Rahal's, or is he just finding his niche alongside Pat O'Ward and Nolan Siegel and the McLaren team? I think it's a bit of all of those things. And obviously, when a driver feels comfortable, you get results. And we're seeing that with Lundgaard. The recipe has always been there, but I firmly believe that Rahal's were probably holding him back. So this was a massive thing for him to get that third place over the weekend.
I was very vocal in the off season that I wanted to get off to a strong start with Aaron McLaren, and I think we've clearly done that. I've never been higher in the championship than where I am now, so we've done a good job. We started sort of conservative in St. Petersburg, and I think today we showed where we really can be and where we're supposed to be, fighting and 2 back-to-back podiums, unlike this guy who just decides to either win or finish second in every race. But we'll beat him someday, I hope.
Then, of course, coming second, the man of the moment, still the man of the moment in many ways, Alex Palou on the DHL Chip Ganassi entry. Great start to the season by Alex. Didn't get the 3 in a row. That was done many years ago by one Scott Dixon. But, still holds the championship lead. 37 points back then now to Kyle Kirkwood, who's second in the championship, who we're about to hear from as well. But the big thing for Palou is it's about consistency in points, and Ganassi's did that. It's very interesting to see how he plays himself out over practice and then qualifying, and not always showing full hand necessarily during those sessions. And then there's just the sudden surge from Alex, and it all comes on. But very likable guy, and doing everything that you need to do within this championship right now. Of course, it's still to get that oval win. But the big thing with Alex is the fact that you can't count him out of these championships. We've just seen, the last couple of years, just a steamroller from him, Barry Wanzer, who does his strategy for Ganassi's. The whole thing gels together. Ricky Davis, the crew chief, who used to be Scott Dixon's crew chief, just likes him to the fact that he feels he's the next generation Dixon. And Alex himself credits a lot of what he's doing to Scott Dixon. So you get a lot of parallels there. But for Alex, second place in the race is still a very good point haul.
We didn't really have that ultimate speed that the 27 car had, and Kyle, they did an awesome job throughout the weekend qualifying and the race. He was managing, and every time I was having like a small chance, he just had a little bit more pace. So shame that we couldn't really make it more interesting for the fans, but I'm super happy to be here. And it was a great day.
Then before I get to the race winner of the race, which of course was Kyle Kirkwood, one of the men of the moment, you might say, off track is Dan Torres, who's taken over the Andretti Global organisation from Michael Andretti. Now, Dan was involved in the Group 1001 infrastructure many years ago, even back as far as Zach Veach. But have now become the top man at Andretti Global. So it's very interesting to get his take on things, because you seldom really ever get to hear from him. So it was just an interesting thing within the press conference after the race win for Andretti's to get Dan's thoughts on the road of how it's got to where he is today.
I think, I got introduced, through interesting circumstances to IndyCar. We started with this. I was sponsoring a golf tournament at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway at Brickyard, and really got up close and personal to IndyCar, became, a sponsor, a fan. And then our involvement just, continued. And now, here is, I'm running a global motorsports, platform from Formula One to, to IndyCar, NASCAR, sports cars, Australian V8 supercars, and just, I'm a big fan of motorsports now. What can I say? Yeah, confidence is such a key part of motorsports. And so I think from the team standpoint, I think we can continue to build off this confidence and get results. Our goal is to be a premier, and dominant team in every motorsport that we're participating in, including IndyCar from that standpoint. I think that's a key component of the business side of it, of the success. people want to partner with the top teams. And so certainly winning races, does a lot for a team from a commercial standpoint. And I think as we just want to continue to create fans, we want to continue to create interest in our team, interest in our drivers, interest in IndyCar. And so, we're going to continue to push the envelope in that and bring creativity to that. We're very pleased with what Fox has done for the series, from that standpoint from this year. And so, we're just going to continue to push as a team, to see as we can create that interest, and certainly being on the podium helps quite a bit.
Confidence certainly grown in the Andretti organisation, and all it takes is for the team to get on a roll, just like any team, and suddenly you've got race wins on your hands. The season is still very young. Don't forget, we're only 3 races in. Then we've got this onslaught of races coming now, plus the oval test at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and then, of course, the running of the 109th Indy 500. So there's a lot to happen. And then post the Indy 500, the season really is relentless because you're at Detroit, and then it just keeps on going and going and going. And that's where we see the strongest teams come to the front. So a good kickstart is beneficial, and Andretti certainly seem to have that recipe a little bit right now. And for Kyle Kirkwood, it was the second win, and more importantly, the 50th anniversary win at the Long Beach.
Yeah, it's really good, right? Like to win here at the 50th with this team, with this group, with Honda at an Acura sponsored event is absolutely massive. This was a flawless weekend for myself, for the team, for the crew, for everyone involved. And when you have flawless weekends like this, you tend to win. So this is a big step in the right direction. I know coming into this event, this was our time to turn things around. And fortunately, we were able to get it done. This is probably one of our top 3 circuits, I think, on the schedule. And it's important that we win those to have any chance of winning a championship. So this is a start, and hopefully this is a continuation of great things.
Great win for Kirkwood there. It proves that, you put the car on pole position, you can convert it to a race win. So it was a job well done. There were some teams that kind of failed on that, and we're going to deal with that in just a little second. But the big thing that I want to have now is a mention here about Scott Dixon. This was his 300th top 10 finish in IndyCar racing. 300th. Now, how often in New Zealand, because I'm picking on New Zealanders now, does that ever get recognised in this country? Seldom, if any. But look at the fact, we've got supercars and Formula One news in the New Zealand Herald this weekend, which was fantastic to see. Fantastic to see it in the paper yesterday morning and see full-page pictures in a text write-up. But 300 podium or top 10 finishes for Dixon. Man, oh man, this country needs to get behind that. And with that comes the momentum for the McLaughlins, the Armstrongs, and then further down the Callum Hedge and the Liam Skeets and Jacob Douglas and Sebastian Manson, because without that, you don't have that catalyst. So Dixon, phenomenal performance. Got inducted obviously into the Long Beach Hall of Fame as well. So again, another recognition that doesn't really get recognized at home. So big kudos to Dixie, that's for sure. Now, looking at things that kind of failed this weekend, 2 of the Penske cars, Will Power and Joseph Newgarden, kind of failed to capitalise on things, didn't convert good practice sessions into qualifying positions or let alone race positions. Power being very notable on that. It was so quick in the practice sessions and even the warm-up sessions, but didn't convert it. McLaughlin started 6th, finished 6th, so I guess that's kind of okay. But then there was this quirky thing with Newgarden with the seatbelts coming loose in the car. Now, for those of you that follow IndyCar, you will remember that happened to Will Power. They came undone. The lap belt came undone at Nashville twice within the race last year and really cost him a run on the championship. And here we are seeing another Penske car with a seatbelt issue. And one has to wonder what's going on there, because I kind of wouldn't think twice about it if it was 2 separate teams, but because it's the same team, sure, different driver, you got to wonder what is going on, because seatbelts are such an important part of the car. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays itself out maybe in the coming days and the vibe that comes as a result of that, because certainly some questions have got to be asked. At the moment, there's no answers other than saying that they came loose. So we will see. Anyway, that kind of wraps up this first edition of the New Look Racing World. Plenty more to come. Only a couple of weeks now till the teams are at Barber. There's a full field of cars down there. That'll be fantastic. The oval test at Indianapolis, 34 cars entered for the 500, so someone's going home come that weekend in May where we have a true bump day. Sure, it's only one car, but someone's going to be disappointed in all this. For the 109th running of the great race, the Indianapolis Motor 500, and boy oh boy, it's going to be great. Thanks for joining our Racing World today. Don't forget to share, like and subscribe. This is a big push this year, and I am going to get controversial, so believe you me, we've seen great things at Long Beach this weekend with great crowds. So can IndyCar convert that into other championship rounds this year? Let's wait and see. Rumor has it that the Indy 500 is near sellout capacity. Again, let's wait and see, because it's always a good way of pushing ticket sales. On the domestic front in New Zealand, we need to get behind the Rally Championship that's on now. We need to get behind the multiple academies that are around in this country and support New Zealanders to get them offshore. The legacy of motorsport in New Zealand will only continue by support of those to get them offshore. It doesn't just happen by itself. So a little bit of food to think on, shall we say, until next week, and I'll catch you then on Racing World.